Striker Manchester United could sign in January. Manchester United recruited well during the summer transfer window, strengthening a number of important positions all over the squad. But the work isn't finished, and one area they didn't touch was up front, where a 37-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo and a perma-injured Anthony Martial are the only two number 9 options. The January market isn't always the easiest time to buy, with players not usually available in the same way as summer. Yet, it isn't a closed door, and United's capture of Bruno Fernandes midway through 2019 and 20 is a good example for the success that can be had in the winter window. A preparation for the next transfer window has already begun. Everton has confirmed January is on the radar, while there is a World Cup to contend. But before then, that is likely to have an impact on player availability and price. Already on of 8 potential striker target, Manchester United could approach in January. Brian Brobby. Everton was keen to bring Brian Brobby to Old Trafford during the summer, which would have been a reunion for the pair after previously working together at Ajax. Brobby was handed a debut by Ten Hag in 2020. The Dutchman was approached by RB Leipzig last summer, only to rejoin Ajax on loan in January and quickly rediscover his old from once he was back in Amsterdam. That deal then became permanent for around 19 million euros. Brobby has promised that he will leave again in the future. I will provide a nice transfer fee for Ajax, but could he be persuaded to choose United by Ten Hag, who has already been in touch via text message? Moussa Dembele. United were heavily linked with Moussa Dembele back in the summer of 2020, after the Frenchman had scored 44 goals in 2 seasons with Lyon, only seeing him suddenly to go off the boil. A loan to Atletico Madrid in January 2021 failed to rejuvenate him, but Dembele then surged back to form in the second half of last season by scoring 13 times in Lyon's final 12 League One game of the champions. The former Fulham talent, now 26 and potentially at his peak, is actually out of contract next summer, and so Lyon may have to consider a cut price January sale if they cannot agree a new deal with him. This may seem a little weird because his first time in the Premier League wasn't all that good and isn't known as a prolific striker, but Alvaro Morata could actually be pretty effective in the right team. At 29, he has a decade of experience at the high level and has consistently scored double figures in the league when given a proper chance. Even at Chelsea, he got 11 in his debut Premier League season in 20 in all competition, for Juventus in 2020 and 21. Morata has made a decent start to his season now that he is back at Atletico Madrid and could be a sure addition to squad depth. Christopher Nkunku, although not an old number 9, Christopher Nkunku has turned prolific in the last 12 months. He got 35 goals in 20 assists from a variety of attacking position for RB Leipzig last season. The Frenchman signed a contract extension with Leipzig over the summer, but with the understanding that a release clause that becomes active next summer will make him available for a not unreasonable price. United wouldn't get the benefit of that 60 million euros clause in January, but moving early might help them still emerge on the competition, even if it means paying slightly more than if they were to wait. Jonathan David has been working his way up and building a solid reputation in European football ever since swapping his youth club in Canadian capital Ottawa for Gent in Belgium in 2018. Now 22, he has consistently scored goals in France for Lille after joining them in 2020, even winning League One in his debut season, and has already scored another 5 in his first 8 league games of 2020 to 23. David will play for Canada at the 2022 World Cup this winter. It is the group against Belgium, Croatia and Morocco, which could give an indication as to whether he is now ready to step up to a new level again. Memphis Depay. Memphis Depay wasn't ready to for Manchester United until in 2015 he had no long-term 21 at the time of his big money move for PSV Eindhoven and probably still had some growing up to do on and off the pitch. But Memphis has shown during a successful spell at playing an acceptable goal tally last season at Barcelona that 28 he is capable of doing a job at a high level. Now may be the right time to come back. The Dutchman is only likely to be a backup player at most the longer he stays at Camp Nou and has entered the last 12 months of his contract. A Victor Osimhen. One thing is for certain, Victor Osimhen would be the most expensive striker target that United could pursue in January, with Napoli paying an initial 70 million euros in 2020 and following him up 120 million euros just last month. The elite Nigerian is very good talk. He made a name for himself with Lille and managed 18 goals in all competitions for Napoli last season. Intriguingly, Osimhen recently ranked Liverpool Red in the Champions League, albeit succumbing to injury during the first half of that game, and would be a good fit for United's group of young, vibrant attackers. Some urged Alex Ferguson's biggest transfer success came when he poached players from other Premier League clubs. Things Erik Cantona, Andy Cole, Dwight York, Teddy Sheringham in the 1990. Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney is only at the beginning of his second proper season as a top-flight player, but he has already forced his way into England's squad and is developing a fantastic all-around game not dissimilar to Harry Kane. The Brentford star will score goals himself when a given chance. He could even reunite with Christian Eriksen in Manchester, but would also play a vital role in creating them for others.